Okay, 15.1, defining and evaluating a logarithmic function. The central question, what is the inverse of an exponential function, f of x equals b to the x, where b is greater than 0 and b does not equal 1? And what is the value of f to the negative 1, b of m for any real number m? So what this really means is we've been working on exponentials, okay? If we do an inverse, in an exponential, the parent function went something like this when we graphed it. If we do an inverse, if you remember our inverses from way back when, an inverse is a mirror image of the other picture. The mirror is at y equals x. So an inverse of an exponential is a logarithmic, and an inverse of a logarithmic is an exponential. Okay, you can switch these two back and forth. Okay, there's a couple of formulas that you're going to need to know. You're going to need to know, well, actually changing a exponential to a logarithmic. So I'm going to give you those formulas. If I have b to the x equals y, that's exponential. I'm now on page 823. So you might want to write that down. Now I'm going to change exponential, that formula, to logarithmic. And when you change it, you say the log, this letter here, which was the base in the exponential, now becomes the lower base here, the little subscript here. Is it subscript or
Superscript?
Superscript?
No subscript.
Subscript, whatever
Oh
it
yeah,
is.
yeah, the subscript. Superscript is up top.
Okay, and then this number over here that it equals becomes the whole number here, and then the exponent here goes on the outside there. Now, to me this is hard to remember, and I have to look at this little formula every time, so it's okay if you do.
So what does the log mean?
Log means we're going to take this exponential function and we're going to do the inverse of it, and we'll find log on our calculator, and we're going to use log buttons over on the far left, but you don't need it yet. We're just changing exponential to log and log back to exponential. So let's look at this first one. It says 4 to the third, or is it 4? 4 to the third equals 64. Now we want to change that and write it in logarithm. So you would say log, here our base was 4, so that becomes our subscript. The big number here becomes our whole number here, equals, and over here on the right is our exponent, which is 3.
So how do you make the number down? Like little.
Okay, on your calculator, on all of our TI calculators, you cannot, it is all in base 10. You cannot change it on the calculator. So we're going to have to work through it, and I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. Okay, your calculator is in base 10 or base E. You can't change it. Alright, on the next one, up at the top of page 823, let's go from logarithmic to exponential. So the little subscript here now becomes the base, right? So that's 1/25. The number over here on the far side becomes the exponent. And the exponent just said that wrong.
I thought
yeah.
5 would be the.
Sorry, I wrote it wrong. Let's try again. What's my subscript right here? 5. The 5 becomes the base. The x on the other side becomes the exponent. And the whole number here becomes the equal to. Just like that. Now here's something you need to know, which earlier they had trouble with. 5 to the negative 2 power. What is 5 squared?
25.
25. But what does a negative do when it's on the exponent? It puts it under 1. And I think if you understand that concept right there, then you'll be okay when we get to the homework. Because earlier they were having trouble understanding that 5 to the negative 1 was 1 over 25. Okay, let's change this one from exponential to logarithmic. So I would say log, over here is my whole number, my base, which now becomes my subscript, which is 2/3. The number over here on the right side becomes my whole number here, and my exponent becomes the number over here on the right side. Questions on that? Alright, let's change this logarithmic here to exponential. It says log subscript 1/2. So 1/2 becomes my base. The m over on the far right now becomes my, the n on the far right becomes my exponent. And my m, which is my number, becomes the number on the right. Alright, questions on that? Okie dokie. Let's move to your turn on page 826. Alright, it says, if f of x equals log subscript 7 of x, find f of 343, f of 149, and f of the square root of 7. So basically you're working 3 different problems here. So let's do f of 343 first. So y equals log base 7 of 343 equals y. So y equals log base 7 of 343. So how would I write that? Just like we just did. It's in log and I want to change it to exponential. So I would say what? 7 to the y equals 343. Y'all, that's the same thing we just did, except it's on opposite sides. Would it make more sense if I put the equals y over there? Does that help? 7 to the y equals 343. So what I'm wanting to do is I wanted to make the bases here the same. So I would say 7 to the y equals 7 to the what power? 7 to the what power is going to be 343? 7 to the third?
Yes.
So 7 to the y equals 7 to the third, so y equals 3. That's it. Alright, let's do 149. Log base 7 of 149 equals y. That's in logarithm. How did you change it to exponential? 7 to the y equals 149. Seven to the y equals 7 to the what? Negative 2. That is correct. So y equals negative 2. Does everybody see why that's negative 2? If it was to the 2, it would be 49, but it's negative, so that's 1 over 49. Very good. All right, the last one. Log base 7 of the square root of 7 equals y. How would I write that? 7 to the y equals square root of 7. 7y equals 7 to the what? What is this? 1/2. Well, that one was easy. Y equals 1/2. Questions? Anybody? All right, let's do number 10. I'll erase this so I'll have room. All right, 10, the very first one. We're doing log base 1/3 of x, and we're doing f of 27. So we're doing this problem right here. The log base 1/3 of 27 equals y. What does this mean? How would I write this in exponential? 1/3 y equals 27. So 1/3 to the y equals 1/3 to the what power? Negative 3. Y equals negative 3. Good job. All right, next one. Log base 1/3 of 1/81 equals y. One-third to the y equals 1/81. 1/3 to the y equals 1/3 to what power? Fourth power. Y equals 4. Now, why didn't I have to put a negative there? Because they were both fractions. So you didn't have to put a negative there. Alright, next one. Log to the 1/3, this one's a little bit harder. 9 square root of 3 equals y. One-third to the y equals 9 square root of 3. One-third to the y equals